Hey everybody, my name is Chris Fikes. Let's talk about angle flying. So if you're not familiar with angle flying, or maybe you haven't gotten into it much yet, you might be wondering, what is angle flying? So just real quick, I want to cover that. In this video, I'm going to be covering just kind of the broad general concepts of angle flying, some of the basic controls. We're not going to get too far, too deep into everything. It's just more of kind of a broad overview. Like I said, some of the basics. So first of all, what is angle flying? Well, think about if you're just on a belly jump with your friends, you're building a round or whatever, you're flying on your belly. That's a pretty static type of flying. You're not moving around the sky at all. You're falling pretty much in one column of air, and you're staying in that area the whole time you're flying. Even if you're flying head up, maybe sit flying, or head down, maybe a little bit of free flying, carving around, but you're still staying in one area. So that's more of a static type of jump. Now, there's a term that we use in skydiving called movement jumps. Movement is, think of it as an umbrella, kind of an overarching category of a specific type of skydiving, a specific type of jump where we're actually moving across the sky. So we call it movement, right? Now, a couple of different types of movement jumps. One is tracking or flat tracking. That's what we typically do at the end of a skydive when we're breaking off from the formation, trying to create horizontal separation so we can have as much open area, our own space in the sky to deploy our canopy, be away from everybody, and be as safe as possible. So that's flat tracking. Now you don't only do that at breakoff. You could do an entire skydive where you're flat tracking. You're trying to create horizontal distance. You're maximizing your horizontal movement compared to your vertical descent. So that would be a flat track. Now, before we get into angle flying, what I would say is that it's very important that you become really proficient at flat tracking. The better you are at flat tracking, where you can control your heading, you can control your speed, and you can actually flat track and fly in close proximity in formation with other people, other friends safely, that is going to benefit your angle flying beyond compare. It's going to be a great benefit to your ability to transition into angle flying. So that's flat tracking. Now, angle flying would be not flat tracking and not falling straight down, but somewhere in the middle. So we're still moving across the sky. It could be a very steep angle, very steep and very fast, but we're still moving across the sky, or it could be a little bit flatter. And it could be slower, it could still be very quick, very fast, and we're moving across the sky. So not a flat track, not falling straight down, static, even head up or head down, but moving across the sky in an angle fly position. That's angle flying. That's it. It can be really steep or shallow, and that's what angle flying is. Now, what I want to get into is just some of the basics. Before you start angle flying, even before you start doing a full tracking jump, it's very important that you recognize the dangers with movement jumps of all types. Because we are moving across the sky, we're covering a significant amount of horizontal ground. It's very dangerous, and it can be very easy to collide with other people in your group, or even other groups that have exited the plane either before you or after you. So it's really important, if you're going to go on any of these jumps, a tracking jump or an angle jump, a movement jump of any kind, the person leading that jump should know exactly what they're doing. They should know how to plan a movement jump. They should know how to plan the flight path for your group. And they should make sure that everyone in the group is capable of staying together and knows what to do if people get separated or left behind or whatever. There should be a clear plan of action for that. They should be able to talk to you about break-off procedures, how to break off, who breaks off in what direction, and all those things. And that person, when they're planning that jump, they should know what things they need to consider. They need to consider jump run. What direction is it? What's the ground speed? They need to consider if there's an offset to jump run. If the first exit is prior or after the drop zone. They need to be considering the upper winds and the landing pattern. They need to be considering all the other groups on the plane and what they're doing, especially if there's other movement groups on the plane. So please don't do these types of jumps by yourself, especially if you don't know how to plan and organize a flight plan for a movement jump. All right, that's the disclaimer. Make sure you're safe. Be careful. Somebody leading it knows what they're doing. Another danger for these jumps is because we're generating a pretty good speed of movement, horizontal movement, or just across the sky, it's also easy for you to get hurt with by colliding or falling into someone else on the jump. I've seen people approach a group way too fast and hit someone and get hurt. I've seen people cork out in the middle of a flight and run into someone else and hurt them. So there's other things to consider, safety things to consider. I'm not going to have time to go into all that in this video. So you need to find someone, a coach or instructor, someone that knows what they're doing that can help you ease into this. The purpose of this video is to just give you kind of an understanding, an overview of what angle flying is, and some of the things that you can start working on and doing to kind of get into it more and more. Now, as far as in the sky, we've got a few different controls, things that we think about. Pitch, the pitch of the jump. You'll hear people when they're planning an angle jump, planning a movement, they're talking about the pitch. Is it going to be steep and fast? Is it going to be shallow? How's it going to be? People talk about flying on their belly. People talk about flying on their back. So those are some different things that you'll hear people talking about. The way that we typically control pitch is through a few different things. These are just basic controls. You'll see different people doing different things. You may even hear different people saying different things, but just the basics. You know, your head controls a little bit. The tilt and pitch of your head is going to help you control that. Your shoulders, even bending your knees, your legs, and using your thighs as brakes to kind of control that pitch is all ways that we control the pitch or the angle, how steep we want to fly, right? If we're trying to stay with someone or follow them or whatever. The other thing is turning. How are we controlling the turn? So typically we're using our hips and our shoulders. Sometimes we're using a little bit of our hands, maybe even a little bit of our legs and our feet, pressure on our legs and feet into the wind, and leaning, rolling our body, trying to control that turn and yaw, maybe if you will, of which direction we want to go. Now, as far as speed, we have a few different things that we use for brakes. So brakes, I usually tell people, think of your legs, because your legs have so much surface area. Those are your big, heavy brakes. Those slow you down a lot. So bending your legs and widening your legs sometimes that's a way to slow down. Arms, extending your arms out, widening your arms, that's going to slow you down. Hands into the wind, of course, is going to slow you down. So those are kind of the basic controls for pitch and turns and speed. Now, if you want to get into angle flying, you've started flat tracking, you're getting proficient at it, you've got some people that you can flat track with, you guys are staying on heading, you're going where you need to go, and you're pretty proficient, you can safely stay together. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend you start off with flat track, flying with your friends, and then if you're able to stay together, you're able to stay in formation, then you start playing a little bit with pitch. Try dipping your head down and see if you can get your body to go a little bit steeper. Bringing your head back up and coming up a little bit flatter. Try rolling your shoulders down, letting your shoulders fall down. Just playing with these different body positions, different movements, to see what it's like and how you can induce a little bit of a steeper pitch, flatten out a little bit shallower. Play with your arms, widening your arms out, and feel how that slows you down, bringing them in, bending your knees up towards your hips to feel the brakes on your thighs and your feet, putting your toes into the wind, pointing your toes, straightening your legs as much as you can, arms to your side. All these different things you're gonna begin to feel and play around with and feel those different control surfaces, whether it be for pitch and speed or turning. Try turning by just leaning your shoulders the direction you want to go, leaning your body and moving back and forth. Try turning with your hands, kind of pushing a hand into the wind, getting a mild adjustment, or your legs, dipping a knee down just a little bit to turn. And you're going to feel how some of these control surfaces will make you turn, but they'll also slow you down. Some of them you can maintain speed and turn at the same time. So it depends on what you're wanting to do, how you're going to utilize those different control surfaces and body parts. So those are kind of the basics of angle flying. If you really want to get into angle flying, you want to learn more, I would suggest that you go to the website cravetofly.com. Go to our website. Crave is an online library of video courses. Each video course covers a different discipline of skydiving, taught by some of the best skydivers in the world. We cover all sorts of different stuff. Go to the Crave website and check out the Movement Jumps course from Luis Pernetto and Sharon Harnoy-Pilcher. If you watch that course, you're gonna learn so much more. They're gonna go into so much more detail and depth. They know way more than I do. They're going to talk about exits, exiting on your belly, exiting on your back. They're going to talk about approaching the formation, flying in your slot, where you should be, flying. What does flying on level look like in a movement jump? How is that different from a static belly jump or even a head down or head up? They're going to talk about creating a flight plan and following the leader. They're going to talk about what to do if you get left behind on a jump. They're going to talk about break-off procedures and how to safely break off from a movement jump. So they're going to cover a lot of different stuff, going to go into a lot of detail about angle flying and movement jumps. And I really think you're going to enjoy it. You're going to learn a lot, and it's going to make you a better flyer and a safer skydiver. So go to cravetofly.com, check out that course from Luis and Sharon, and do more, be better.